I'm not one to make a big fuss about my birthday, preferring low-key celebrations with family or close friends. However, one year, after a quiet family dinner, my friends convinced me to do something a bit different. We were only 19 and couldn't hit the bars, so we decided on a night off-roading adventure in a nearby state park, thanks to my friend Jay's Jeep. We had weed, vodka, and excitement as we headed into the park. Technically, it was off-limits after dark, but no one was around to enforce the rules. We made our way down the narrow one-way road, flanked by woods, leading to the large parking lot in the heart of the park. Once there, we were ready to delve into the trails. Jay knew the way, despite the trail being officially designated for walking. We drove cautiously, navigating the bumpy terrain. It was like an amusement park ride, and we were having a blast. As the night deepened, we decided to enjoy the serene wilderness by hotboxing the car with weed. Jay wasn't drinking, so he stayed focused on driving. The music was blaring, and the atmosphere was electric until we heard something from outside. We fell silent, listening intently. It sounded like a high-pitched scream. We turned off the music, exchanging puzzled glances. What was that? Could it be a fox? We brushed it off and resumed our reverie. But things took an eerie turn when I had to answer nature's call. Stepping out of the car, I heard what seemed like footsteps nearby. I hurried back, cutting short my business, and whispered about the strange sounds. Jay turned on the headlights, and we all froze as a woman stood about 10 feet in front of us, her hood pulled up. She didn't move. She just stared. Jay asked if she was okay, and she slowly backed into the woods and disappeared. Then, we noticed others, 3 people in sweaters with hoods drawn up, standing in different parts of the woods, all gazing at us. The night was warm, and their presence sent shivers down our spines. Panic set in when Carl in the backseat screamed, pointing at a man right outside the back windshield, his expression eerie in the red glow of the taillights. I shouted for Jay to get us out of there, and he didn't hesitate. He raced over rocks and bumps until we reached the pavement again, through a different exit of the dirt trails. Relief washed over us, but the questions lingered. Were those people just young adults in the woods, like us? Their eerie stillness and the man at the back windshield didn't add up. We never ventured into those woods at night again, haunted by the chilling encounter we couldn't explain. The days that followed were filled with uneasy discussions among us. We wondered if those hooded figures were just teenagers messing with us. However, their unnerving silence and that one man staring directly into our car suggested otherwise. Our late-night off-roading escapade ceased, and we shared the story with others, who were both intrigued and terrified. Some suggested it might be a group of thrill-seekers, while others spoke of supernatural entities drawn to the dark woods. I couldn't shake the feeling that something more sinister lurked within those woods that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the hooded figures and the man's eerie stare. It felt like the beginning of a nightmare that had yet to reveal its full horrors. As months passed, we tried to rationalize the encounter, convincing ourselves it was nothing more than a bizarre prank. Yet, the inexplicable fear that gripped us in those woods that night never truly left. Our adventure remained an unsolved mystery, buried deep within the shadows of our memories. My little sister's 5th birthday was etched into my memory, but it wasn't a memory I cherished. We celebrated it at a charming tea room known for hosting princess-themed parties for kids. As a tough 6th grader, I had no interest in partaking in the princess activities and interactions. Instead, I occupied myself with my DS, sitting in the hallway. While engrossed in my game, a random woman approached me. She inquired, "Hey, you're Jamie's kid, right?" Jamie is my mom's name, so I nodded in agreement. The woman introduced herself as Aunt Sarah and mentioned that I might not remember our last meeting due to my young age. She engaged in small talk, remarking on how much I had grown and inquiring about my school life. Such family interactions were common, and I didn't think twice about it. Sarah then informed me that she had brought a large dollhouse as a birthday gift and needed my assistance in carrying it from her car. To sweeten the deal, she promised me the first slice of another cake she had brought. Despite my almost 12-year-old awareness of potential danger, I agreed to help. I followed her through the back door. To my surprise and discomfort, the car was still running, with a man seated in the driver's seat. Sarah noticed my unease and hastily introduced the man as Uncle Dennis. She urged me to hurry with the dollhouse, warning that the cake frosting might melt. Alarm bells began ringing in my head. Why hadn't she asked Dennis for help with the dollhouse initially? And why did they keep the car running when there were empty parking spaces nearby? I hesitated, refusing to move. Sarah's friendly demeanor vanished as she grew increasingly insistent. She tried to tug at my jacket sleeve, but I swatted her hand away and yielded her to stop. At that moment, I feared Dennis might step out of the car. Just as things seemed dire, we heard my mom and aunt calling my name loudly. Startled, Sarah jumped back into the car, and both of them sped away. I rushed back through the back door, meeting my mom and aunt halfway inside. I recounted the harrowing experience immediately. My mom hugged me tightly, assuring me that everything would be okay, while my aunt informed the tea room staff about the incident. In response, the tea room went into lockdown, gathering all the children in one room to ensure no one else had gone missing. Fortunately, no other children had disappeared. The police arrived to interview me about the incident. I provided them with all the details I could about Sarah and Dennis. The officers promised to keep us updated if they discovered anything new, but, regrettably, we never received any follow-up information about Sarah, Dennis, or their true identities. To this day, they remain at large. The mystery of how Sarah knew my mom's name haunts me, but I try to focus on my gratitude for escaping unharmed and avoid dwelling on what could have occurred had I not trusted my instincts that day. My uncle's waterfront mansion was the perfect setting for my 21st birthday bash. With a sprawling backyard and a pool, it was an ideal venue for a wild party. Since my uncle was away for the month, he generously let me use his property. Eager to make the most of my newfound adulthood, I invited all my friends, encouraging them to bring their friends and their own beer. The festivities began at 8 in the evening, with my uncle's impressive surround sound system filling the backyard with music. I ensured everyone knew that, except for bathroom visits, the house was off limits. It was strictly a backyard party. As the night wore on, I realized that more people had shown up than I had anticipated. My friends had brought additional guests, and unfamiliar faces started mingling in the crowd. Anxiety crept in as I thought about the aftermath of the party, cleaning up and potential damage. I kept a watchful eye on who entered and left the house. The party continued to swell with attendees, surpassing 80 people, and my apprehension grew. Eventually, police arrived, responding to complaints from disgruntled neighbors. I reluctantly announced that the party was over, instructing everyone to leave, except for a select group of my friends. By the time the chaos dwindled, only my friend Rob and I remained outside by the pool. Rob, heavily intoxicated, could barely stay conscious, and it seemed harmless to let him crash on the living room couch for the night. I led him indoors, locking both gates and the back door behind us. Rob sprawled across the couch in the living room. Any attempt to communicate with him was met with incomprehensible groans, so I left him there. Surveying the aftermath of the party, I checked the bathroom, which, apart from a few empty beer cans, wasn't in bad shape. Cleanup didn't seem too daunting, especially with Rob's assistance. Inebriated and tired, I ascended the grand staircase, planning to sleep in one of the many vacant bedrooms. I couldn't understand my uncle's strict rule against sleepovers when there were 4 extra beds in the house. The grand foyer led to an upstairs balcony, overlooking it. A maze of bedrooms, bathrooms, and an additional living area awaited. After brushing my teeth in the upstairs bathroom, I drifted into slumber, my drunken state easing me into sleep. About an hour later, a wave of nausea hit me, a reminder of the excessive mix of liquors I had consumed. Rushing to the toilet, I emptied my stomach. Returning to the upstairs balcony area, I heard faint footsteps emanating from the darkened foyer below. I peered over the railing, calling out, "Rob?" The figure below halted abruptly, and in the dimness, I sensed them looking up at me, though their features remained hidden. Suddenly, I heard a noise from the living room downstairs, snoring. It dawned on me that the person in the foyer wasn't Rob. I inquired, "Who is that?" but received no response. My unease deepened when I heard more footsteps, this time from the kitchen below. Terrified, I whispered, "I'm going back to sleep," pretending that I believed they were party guests. In reality, I intended to lock myself in the bedroom and dial 911. Then I remembered Rob was still downstairs. I called his number, and someone picked up. Before I could speak, I uttered Rob's name several times, but all I heard was heavy breathing on the other end. I hung up and immediately dialed 911, whispering to the operator while explaining the situation. The doorknob to my room twisted, and there was a light knock. Should I announce my presence? I asked the operator. He advised against it. I questioned what to do about Rob, but the operator was uncertain as well. He simply suggested waiting until the police arrived. All I could do was remain in the locked room, waiting for the police to deal with the intruders. The operator informed me that officers were en route. As I waited, fear gnawing at me, the doorknob slowly turned, and a soft knock resonated through the door. The police conducted a thorough search of the entire house before they left. They assured me that they would station an officer on the block for the night, which provided me with some relief. I didn't disclose this incident to my uncle until one day when he inquired about his missing Cartier watch. It had apparently been stolen from the kitchen drawer by one of the intruders. I had no choice but to confess to him, and understandably, he was far from pleased with the news. Although my uncle didn't request reimbursement for the stolen watch, he made it clear that I was no longer permitted to host any events at his house. Given the circumstances, I couldn't blame him for this decision.